and I didn't realize what I was doing for about a week later. I didn't and won't let her die.
Dog the Bounty Hunter's life could rival any action movie, full of danger, heartbreak, and controversy. From his early days in a motorcycle gang to becoming the star of one of reality TV's most iconic shows, his journey has been anything but ordinary. But what led the man who once seemed unstoppable to the brink of losing it all? Behind the signature sunglasses and bounty hunting fame lies a story packed with surprising twists, untold secrets, and a path no one could have predicted. So, what really happened to Dog the Bounty Hunter? Duane "Dog" Chapman, the famous bounty hunter, had a tough childhood that shaped the man he would become. Born in Denver, Colorado, he grew up in a working-class family. His father, a Navy welder turned bail bondsman, was strict and often abusive. His mother, a Sunday school teacher, tried to instill strong values in her children. Looking back, Duane described his early years as pretty normal, though he later realized how difficult they had been. His father, nicknamed Flash for his boxing skills, often hit him, using a paddle that left Duane bruised and in pain. He taught Duane to fight at a young age, believing it would toughen him up. But all Duane really wanted was his father's love and approval. At 16, Duane left home and joined a motorcycle gang called the Devil's Disciples, a rebellious move far from his religious upbringing. Despite this, he always defended his faith, once even getting into a fight with someone who insulted Jesus. That incident earned him the nickname Dog, which one of the bikers pointed out was God, spelled backward. From that point on, he embraced both the name and the identity that came with it. In the 1970s, Dog met his first wife, LaFonda Soudanel, while living in Denver. Their connection quickly grew, and after a couple of years of dating, they married in 1972. They eventually settled in Pampa, Texas, where LaFonda was from, and had two sons, Duane Lee Chapman II and Leland Chapman. But as their family grew, so did the cracks in their relationship. Legal troubles began to strain their marriage, and life took a dark turn. In 1976, Chapman was involved in a drug deal gone wrong. While waiting in the car, one of his friends shot and killed the dealer, Oliver. Even though Dog wasn't the one who pulled the trigger, Texas law held him accountable for not reporting the crime. He was charged with murder and sentenced to 5 years in prison, though he served only 18 months. Prison, however, became a turning point. He worked as a barber for the guards and once stopped an inmate from escaping, a brave act that earned him respect and a life-changing suggestion: become a bounty hunter. After his release, Chapman faced overwhelming child support debt. Desperate for steady income, he turned to bounty hunting, a career the judge in his case had even encouraged, noting Chapman's grit and street smarts. Though it felt like a fresh start for Dog, it wasn't enough to save his marriage. In 1977, LaFonda filed for divorce, and their paths diverged. That same year, Chapman met Integnal at a biker party in Colorado. They hit it off quickly. When he offered to drive her home, she revealed she was only 17. To avoid another run-in with the law, Dog married her the very next day. He later admitted they barely knew each other and likely wouldn't have married if she hadn't been underage. Despite their rocky foundation, they had 3 children together. Tragically, their firstborn, Zebediah, died shortly after birth. They also had 2 sons, Wesley and James. But the strain proved too much, and they divorced in 1982. After the divorce, Chapman lost custody of his children, a painful blow that motivated him to reconnect with his sons Duane Lee and Leland. He headed back to Colorado, where fate introduced him to Lisa Ray Britton in a bar. Bold as ever, Dog told her he wanted to have a child with her, and even offered money to make it happen. Surprisingly, Lisa agreed. She left her husband, married Chapman, and together they had 3 kids. But the marriage was built on shaky ground. Dog yearned for the spotlight and a flashy Hollywood life, while Lisa preferred a quiet existence in the woods. The differences were too great, and they divorced in 1991. Dog's next relationship began even before that marriage ended. In 1988, he arrested a woman named Tawny Marie Chapman for drug possession. A few years later, he hired her as his secretary, beginning a professional relationship that soon turned personal. Dog and Tawny's relationship quickly turned romantic, though it was rocky from the beginning. Tawny wanted a serious commitment, but Dog wasn't looking for anything long-term. Still, under pressure, he eventually agreed to marry her. Their relationship was troubled. Tawny struggled with substance use, and Dog admitted to being unfaithful. Things only worsened after Dog's mother passed away, sending him into a deep depression and his own battle with addiction. While still married to Tawny, Dog began an affair with Beth Smith, and his marriage to Tawny ultimately unraveled. Beth Smith, the woman most people know as Dog the Bounty Hunter's wife and longtime partner, had a complicated introduction to Dog's world. Their story began long before they were household names. In 1988, Beth was actually on the run from the law. She was accused of stealing 2 lemons from a grocery store while trying to use a payphone. Things escalated when it was discovered she was carrying an unlicensed weapon and had numerous unpaid traffic tickets. Needing bail, she called Dog, who was working as a bail bondsman at the time. He sent the paperwork by bus, leaving her in jail for 12 hours. When Beth finally showed up at his office, she tried to play it cool, but Dog saw right through her. Beth later admitted that she was smitten and determined to make him haze from that moment on. Despite their undeniable chemistry, Dog and Beth's relationship faced many obstacles. Dog was still involved with other women, battling personal demons, and raising a large family. Still, the connection between them endured. By 1997, Dog, Beth, and his kids moved in together. They eventually married and built a successful bail bonds business called D.A. Kind Bail Bonds. Their big break came in 2003 when they captured Andrew Luster, the Max Factor heir, who was wanted for sexually assaulting multiple women. Dog tracked him down in Mexico, but since bounty hunting is illegal there, he was arrested at the border along with his team. Ironically, because of his criminal record, Dog couldn't legally arrest anyone in the U.S. either. A Florida bail bondsman group even said his actions could be considered kidnapping. Despite the legal chaos, the capture of Luster catapulted Dog into the public eye. In 2004, Dog the Bounty Hunter premiered on A&E, and audiences were immediately hooked. For nearly a decade, viewers followed Dog's thrilling hunts, intense missions, and emotional pep talks. His wild mullet, ever-present sunglasses, and larger-than-life personality became his trademark. Dog later shared that his look was deliberately crafted to intimidate fugitives. Beth often emphasized that the show was about more than just catching criminals. It was about helping people and offering second chances. The show became a massive hit, but Dog's intense personality eventually stirred controversy. In 2007, a private phone call between him and his son was leaked. In it, Dog used a racial slur and expressed fear that it could destroy his career. The recording was published by the National Enquirer, prompting A&E to halt the show and launch an investigation. Dog publicly apologized, acknowledging the hurt he caused and vowing to do better. He appeared on CNN, expressing deep remorse and pledging to never use a slur again. His sincerity won over the network, and the show returned. With Beth chasing fugitives in high heels and Dog's fiery leadership, Dog the Bounty Hunter became a cultural phenomenon. The family's motivational speeches before each mission became iconic, and the show remained a fan favorite for 8 years. But in a surprising move, A&E canceled the show despite its popularity, leaving fans stunned. Not long after, the Chapmans launched a new series, Dog and Beth, on the Hunt on CMT. It was a fresh beginning, but the bail bond industry they loved faced increasing legal and financial challenges. These issues forced the family to pause filming and fight to protect their profession. After a short break from TV, Dog and Beth returned to the screen. But this time, the spotlight was on something far more personal and heartbreaking. In 2017, Beth was diagnosed with throat cancer. She shared the news in a deeply emotional letter, vowing to fight with everything she had. Following surgery to remove a tumor, there was a brief glimmer of hope when Beth was declared cancer-free that November. But joy turned to sorrow when, a year later, the cancer returned, this time spreading to her lungs. Despite the devastating diagnosis, Beth refused to give up. By late 2018, she spoke of the illness as just another challenge she would face head-on. On June 26, 2019, Beth passed away. Dog announced the news, saying she had gone to heaven and was deeply loved. In her final moments, Beth didn't want to look at him. Dog believed it was because she could see that he was losing hope, and she needed him to stay strong. He tried to keep her spirits up, always telling her she would be okay, even though deep down, he questioned why people say that when they know the truth. The weight of her loss was almost unbearable. Unbearable and undeniable. Those were the words that best described Dog the bounty hunter's grief after losing Beth. In the end, Beth had told Dog to let her go. He struggled to accept it, unable to imagine life without the woman who had been his partner in every sense. But before he could respond, she took her final breath. Her death hit him harder than anyone could have imagined. In an emotional interview with Dr. Ounce, Dog opened up about the darkest moment of his grief, revealing that he couldn't stop crying and even considered taking a handful of pills. Thankfully, he didn't go through with it, but the confession showed just how deeply he was suffering. On top of the emotional devastation, Dog was also drowning in financial trouble. In an interview with the Toronto Star, he shared that Beth's medical bills and the burden of supporting their large blended family had drained his finances. He was on the brink of losing his home because he couldn't keep up with the mortgage. The weight of it all, grief, debt, and the emptiness left behind, was crushing. A few months after Beth's passing, Dog began experiencing chest pains and difficulty breathing. At first, he dismissed it, assuming it was just heartbreak, his heart literally aching. He told Fox 31 Denver that he believed it was all in his head, but when the symptoms didn't go away, he finally sought medical help. Without Beth, who had always pushed him to take care of his health, he had neglected his well-being. Thankfully, Dr. Ounce intervened and convinced him to undergo critical medical tests. The process was even documented on Dr. OZ's show, emphasizing how important it is to take health concerns seriously. Dog admitted he had been a heavy smoker since the age of 12, smoking up to 3.5 packs a day for over 40 years. Despite this, doctors found his heart to be surprisingly healthy. However, there was a serious issue, a blood clot in his lungs, medically known as a pulmonary embolism. Dr. Ounce explained how potentially fatal this condition could be, as it blocks blood flow to the lungs. Determined to survive and change his ways, Dog made a serious effort to quit smoking. He started using nicotine patches and committed to therapy to tackle the emotional struggle behind his addiction. With the help and support of Dr. Ounce and his team, Dog slowly began turning his life around. Soon after overcoming those health scares, Dog landed a new show, Dog's Most Wanted, on WGN. Known for taking down some of the nation's most dangerous criminals, Dog's reputation remained intact. One of his most notable captures was Leonard Trujillo Jr., a man with a long criminal history including armed robbery and assaulting a police officer. Trujillo had been on the run, but Dog and his team were relentless in their pursuit. For 12 intense days, they tracked him across southern Colorado. As they closed in, the team sent out a confident message. Trujillo's time was up, and they were right. When they finally caught him, the arrest wasn't peaceful. A scuffle broke out, and Trujillo ended up with a bloody head, shouting insults as he was taken into custody. Dog and his team stood firm, even jokingly referring to themselves as God's gangsters. That day wasn't just about Trujillo. They also arrested 4 more people, making it a major victory. The dramatic events were featured in an episode of Dog's Most Wanted, filmed just months after Beth's death, adding an emotional layer to an already intense storyline. But life for Dog took even more unexpected turns in the wake of Beth's passing. Just 7 months later, rumors swirled about him dating Moon Angel, a longtime family friend. The news stirred controversy, especially within his own family. His daughter Lissa publicly criticized the relationship on social media, calling Angel a homewrecker and accusing Dog of being inauthentic. In response, Dog acknowledged how much Moon had helped him through an incredibly difficult period. Then, during an emotional appearance on the Dr. Ounce show, things took an even more surprising turn. Dog proposed a Moon Angel live on television. Moon Angel was visibly shocked when Dog proposed to her on live television, insisting they were just friends. Dog later clarified that the proposal wasn't serious. It was more of a test to see how people would react. Despite the public confusion, the two never married. After Beth's death, Dog had openly stated that he wouldn't remarry, but life had other plans. Eventually, he met Francie Frayne, a woman also grieving the loss of a spouse. France's husband had passed away from cancer, and Dog initially reached out to hire him for some work around the house. Instead, Dog and Francie bonded over their shared experiences of loss and heartbreak. They found comfort in each other, often talking about Beth and France's late husband, helping one another navigate their grief. Dog and Francie began dating in March 2020, and by May, he had already proposed. Many people criticize how quickly he seemed to move on from Beth, but Dog explained that Beth would have wanted him to find happiness again. In September 2021, Dwayne and Frances tied the knot and started sharing glimpses of their life together on social media, posting photos and videos of their adventures. Not long after, Dog released a movie titled Hunter's Creed, reflecting on his life after Beth's passing. He also signed a deal with a streaming platform called Unleashed for a new show, Dog Unleashed, which continued his mission of tracking down dangerous criminals. However, controversy struck again in 2021 when Michael Donovan, president of Unleashed, sued Dog. Donovan accused him of making racist and homophobic remarks on set and of illegally using a taser to intimidate someone, something that would be illegal due to Dog's past murder conviction. Dog countered that the taser was merely a prop, while the lawsuit claimed otherwise. His lawyers dismissed the allegations as retaliatory, arguing that Donovan was angry over their failed business arrangement. They promised the claims would be thrown out and announced plans to sue Donovan for defamation. Behind the headlines, Dog faced more personal and financial challenges. By 2022, he owed $1.6 million in unpaid taxes in Colorado and Hawaii, which forced him to make some difficult decisions. One of those was selling the Colorado mansion he had purchased with Beth 13 years earlier for $750,000. With the housing market booming, he managed to sell the property for nearly double the price, bringing in around $1.59 million to help pay off his debts. Though Dog the Bounty Hunter isn't on television as often these days, he continues to make headlines. Most recently, he sparked controversy during a public appearance with a televangelist, where he launched into a rant against transgender influencer Dylan Mulvaney. His remarks, which included misgendering and threatening language, ignited backlash and reignited debates about his polarizing public persona. Amid all this, Dog has embraced a new chapter in life as a Christian influencer. He even authored a book titled 9 Lives and Counting, where he shares his spiritual journey and newfound faith. Dog now believes his mission has evolved, from capturing fugitives to saving souls. He sees himself on a divine path, calling it a spiritual awakening. Still, by his own admission, he hasn't fully left his old self behind. He refers to himself as a Christian outlaw, someone still fueled by the same fire that once made him a legendary bounty hunter, but now using that passion to help others find redemption.